So now I'm going to introduce you to Grace Cujo, stand-up African queen. This is Grace Cujo, and she is, along with Lori, going to talk about language access.
He's controlling it, right? All right. Good morning, everybody. Can y'all hear me? All right. As Linda said, I am Cujo, and my partner here just did the earlier presentation. So what's her name? Lori. Ah, all right. We're awake. Great. So we're going to present on language access program. And I'm going to do the background, and Lori is going to get into the law aspect. As previously mentioned, she is our attorney, so a lot of the legal things does go through her. And I will talk to you all about the operations piece of language access. So you are all wondering, what is language access? Does anyone speak another language here? Anyone? Okay, that's awesome. Great. So we will talk a little bit more about how to assist customers who do speak different languages whilst you are out in the field. So what is language access? It is districts. So the District of Columbia Language Access of 2004 seeks to provide equal access to public services, programs. Oh, not loud enough. Can y'all hear me? All right. Thank you. Public services, programs, and activities to all people living, working, and visiting the District of Columbia, regardless of their ability to speak. The purpose of, I was telling you all about the background of the language access, which was enacted in 2004 to promote the ability to provide services to people visiting DC, people working in DC, and also participating in different programs regardless of their ability to speak English. So the purpose of this Language Access Act, next one, is to provide language interpretation and translations to limited English proficient and non-English proficient individuals required by the DC Language Access Act. So Lori is going to discuss with you all the legal aspect of language access.
Okay, so the source of law for language access relevant to the Healthcare for Childcare program comes from two sources. So there's a district language access law, but there's also some federal language access requirements that are in the implementing regulations of the Affordable Care Act. So first, under the district DC Language Access Act of 2004, it establishes the standards for covered DC agencies, and those requirements include that we must provide oral interpretation free of charge to any individual who is seeking services or information about the program who is either limited English speaking or non-English speaking. We must provide written translations of vital documents, provide notice about the availability of language access services, and report annually. This is for the agencies. We report annually to the Office of Human Rights. Of course, you all will be reporting monthly to the grant administrator about language access, and then the requirements apply both to contractors as well as grantees, of course, as well as district agencies. Next slide. So the federal language access requirements relevant to healthcare for child care comes from Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act. So the law in this area is in flux because there's like some new legislation that is still not 100% in. So we comply with the 2016 regulations until the legal issue is settled. So in addition to the requirements of the Affordable Care Act of 2004, it requires the provision of language access taglines, which we currently have. Set clear standards for interpretation and translation services, which we're compliant with our language access lines that Cujo is going to discuss. And then it created a complaint process. So if someone wants to file a complaint then they do have that ability, and those complaints should be sent to the address that's here. But if there is a complaint to be filed, contact the grant administrator, and then I will assist with submitting that complaint. I'll either, Cujo or myself will assist with submitting the complaint under 1557. Okay, next slide.
Thank you. Thank you, Laurie. All right, so now we'll get into how do you assist customers when you are working or interacting with customers that speak a different language. Next slide. Okay, so we at DC Health Link, along with other district government agencies, use the language line solutions to offer oral interpretation to our customers. So when and this language line is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they provide on-demand phone interpretation services. All right, so I did pass this flyer around. If you didn't get one, we can provide you with one. Did everyone get? Okay, you didn't get one. Is there extras going on? Okay. All right. So we are required, and at you all's designated locations, we ask that you display this flyer that offers different languages and allows your customer to be able to point to the language that they need assistance with when you're interacting with them. So more importantly, when it comes to the human interaction, when you're working with these individuals, you want to ask them, what language do you speak, or what language do you speak best? Now, several folks indicated that they do speak different languages, and as you all are in this field, you get to realize that sometimes I've encountered when people have an accent, people tend to quickly go to the language line. You don't want to do that. You don't want to discourage the opportunity to communicate with your clients, your customers, right? You want to engage them, and if it comes off as if they need that extra support, that's when you let them know that they can point to the language that they need assistance in for you to proceed with using the language line. So, and then if you're unable to determine the language, their primary language, of course, you have this handy and you have them point to the language. So we'll move into how to use the DC Health Link language line to further assist them with your customer and your interaction. Next. Okay. So the Office of Human Rights has these amazing resources that's called the I Speak cards, and essentially it just says, I need assistance and have the right to receive assistance in my spoken language. Please provide me with an interpreter and note my spoken language in your permanent records. So as Laurie has already indicated, you want to also find establish a mechanism of tracking these interaction with the customers, and more importantly, letting the customer know, encouraging the customer that if they want, these services are made and are available to them for us to be able to understand and better service them. So when you call the DC Health Link customer service line and you're working with the individual and they indicate the language that they speak, more importantly, you have our number. I'm sure it's everywhere in this room. We also have the TTY number available, and our customer service is open 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. When you dial the main number, you listen to the prompts, and it will give you the primary 6 languages. So that's Amharic, Korean, French, Chinese, Vietnamese, and Spanish. Those are the primary languages that you hear on the language line. If the language that the customer indicated is not on the prompt, which obviously I did indicate the 6, you will hold on the line, get connected to a customer service representative, and it will automatically indicate to them, well, if you don't press one of the 6. Once you get connected to the customer service representative, you will tell them that you need a language interpreter. Well, you will let them know you're with a customer that needs an interpreter available. So at that point, the customer service representative will connect you to the language access line, and you'll begin your interaction. So you, of course, introduce yourself, tell the customer service representative who you're with and that you be using an interpreter, and they will be using an interpreter to continue the interaction with the customer to better help them. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What is the average wait time?
It's less than a minute. Yep. Also, I wanted to indicate to you, so as you all are in the field and working with certain customers, let's say the customer is with a family member or with a friend that speaks the language that they communicate in. And so they'll probably say, hey, I'm with my child, they can help me so you don't have to worry. We do not encourage that, especially we encourage, whoever is with them must be over the age of 18. As you all know, some of us don't speak health records information, so you don't want to mislead them. You want to encourage them to use the interpreting services because a child cannot communicate some of these things that are in writing to that person for them to fully understand. So, yeah. Any questions?
Oh, thank you. No, I just want to comment that my family came over and, to the United States from Cuba, and early on, the kids pick up English a lot faster than the parents do, right?
Yep.
And so there were many times where I was in a position, or my siblings were in positions where we kind of interpreted for our parents. It's pretty common. So.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. This particular document is certainly very useful, but since we'll be out in the field and out and about, does it come in a laminated version or something so that, or do we need to laminate it?
Good idea. We can do a laminated version if that's what you want. That's easy.
All right.
Got that, India? Laminated version of the language access.
To call us? Okay. I believe that you all have that information in your packets. I'm talking about a one-stop. This is laminated and the number there, they can point to the language. And then you call the DC Help Link number.
So maybe on the back of this could be that information.
Okay, we can put something together and so they're asking for this document with the DC Health Link phone number in the back. That way when the customer calls, yeah, we got that. Any?
I have one. I'll go so far to ask, is it like digital anywhere?
It is digital. You can find this on www.ohr.gov. But we'll also make sure to circulate that specific link. Yep.
Thank you.
HR is the Office on Human Rights.
Great questions.
I just wanted to confirm, because I noticed at the bottom of the interpretation services available sheet, it says copyright 2010, so I just wanted to confirm the phone number they have there. Do you know if that's still current?
So that's not the phone number you'll be calling.
Don't use that number?
No, do not use that number.
Okay.
Just when you're with your customers, you want to use the DC Help Link customer service line.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
When you're interacting with the customers, call the DC Health Link customer service line. Do not call any other number other than the DC Health Link customer service line. Yeah, I can do that. Any other questions?
Good morning.
Okay, yep, no problem.
Actually, the only number that really should be on there is DC Health Interpretation Service. Because you don't want to call the wrong numbers.
Got it. Okay, any other question?
Yes, good morning. I had a quick question. We provide our communication in Spanish. So if we wanted to serve an Amharic-speaking individual, can we call the same line in
Yes,
Espanol?
you
Okay,
can.
Perfect.
See.
Nice job.
You got it. Any other questions?
This is not a question, but since you all attended this morning, it is a special offer. I'm going to pass out my business card, and if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need something more, I mean, first, our language services are very, very robust, but there are times when you have a particularly difficult person you're dealing with, or you need someone that's, you know, that's more active, that knows a bit more about it, and can deal with a number of folks and so on. I'm going to pass it out. Give me a call, and I will make sure that I can. I'm not going to be able to do it every time, but if you need someone to speak Spanish and to communicate and facilitate an enrollment, please give me a call, all right?
Any other questions?
If I may, the reason that Antonio is able to provide that service is because he's actually one of the certified.
Yes.
Yes. So it is not where you could call anyone that is able to speak Spanish. It must be a person that is certified, and he happens to be one of the people at HBX that does have that certification, just so that, you know, just so that everyone's
And
clear.
just to clarify the difference between interpretation and translations, because people often use them interchangeably. Interpretation is only for oral speaking. Translations is for written documentation. So, one, in order to offer interpretation to customers, you must be certified. And that's why, to alleviate folks that are not certified to offer oral interpretation, that's why you have DC HealthLink customer service to provide you with that service at free of charge. Additionally, we do not provide translations over the phone because, like I said, interpretations is for oral and translations is for written. However, if you're working with a customer using the DC HealthLink website, we do have written documentations that are already translated in at least 6 languages. If you happen to work with a customer and their specific language is not translated on the website, you have to reach out to us so we can ensure that it is a vital document that needs to be translated while you're working with that particular customer. Okay?
And just to add in addition to what Cujo is saying, translation, if you need a document translated, it would need to be done by HBX. We're going to ensure that all of those requests would come directly to Linda or to your grant administrator, and then it would go down the chain to be translated after we determine whether or not it's a vital document. And then we have to use one, again, of the certified translators. You cannot translate a document just because you know the language does not mean that you are able to properly translate into English.
One of the things we did have translated is, remember yesterday we were talking about the summaries of benefits and coverage. It's a very detailed explanation of the plans. We have that in Spanish for the 3 plans in the individual and family market. And we have it for some of the plans in the shop market, the ones that are most commonly chosen. So we do have those summaries of benefits and coverage. If we need more, you know, it takes a little bit of time. The insurance companies are supposed to provide that, and so we request the insurance companies to do it, and then they translate it. But I do want you to know that there is that document available in Spanish, and you'll use it a lot probably if you're working with a Spanish-speaking population, because it's a good summary of what it is that they are getting.
So I actually have 2 questions. Okay. One is a follow-up to what she just said. First, for the customer helpline, would that cover people who are, like, services for people who are deaf? And also, if we were making a document on our own, so we have a Spanish translator we work with sometimes for some documents. Would we, if we wanted to have, like, say, an event flyer, and we wanted to get that translated in Spanish, could we use our own translator for that, or would we need to send that to you guys for, like, you guys to do an official translation of that? Well, not on staff that we hire sometimes.
So several things. Flyers for events, it's going to be very rare that you would do a customized flyer. The information that is in the toolkit is really what you should be focusing on and using, unless there is a very specific event that absolutely needs created, document creation. Otherwise, you're going to be using the information that is contained in the toolkit that Linda went over, I think, yesterday, and that she's going to be providing other supplements to what you were introduced to yesterday. So as it relates to whether or not you're able to use the translator that you have on staff, we may have to follow up with that answer. Because, so the contract your grant agreement dictates what can be covered. And so I'm not sure if that creation of a separate document and then translation of that document is something that you can bill for. So that may be another consideration that you would want to have.
And would the customer helpline have support for deaf customers?
So,
TTY? Is that what TTY is?
oh,
Sorry.
yes, 711. That's the phone number. Yeah. Did you have a question?
Yes, I just wanted to be clear. Gracias. I just wanted to be clear, and I may be a follow-up with Lori, but we provide all our services in Spanish. We are not licensed to do that. We're not licensed interpreters. What we do is we follow a script. We're going to be doing referrals. We're going to do the warm handoff, that kind of thing. However, what we talked about as of yesterday's discussions, there is a lot of information that we need that is not the technical information, and we're going to have to provide it. And so basically, we have a beautiful PowerPoint that Antonio and Christian made in Spanish. That's great about the program. But Antonio yesterday brought up a lot of questions about why people are not participating in this program. And that's spot on. And those are the kind of questions we're going to get, like, why should I join your program? Is it going to continue? So unless we have that in Spanish, we're going to be doing it. And we just want to make sure we're covered.
So I guess, to your point, if you provide services in Spanish, that's not an interpretation. You're actually communicating with them in that language, correct?
That's correct.
So the interpretation is when I'm speaking English, another person is now interpreting for me to a third person. If I'm speaking to you, I'm a Spanish-speaking person.
Right.
I'm speaking to another Spanish-speaking person.
Okay.
That's not, there's no interpreter there, so that's a different, so if they ask you a question that you have the answer to and you speak Spanish, you're not interpreting, you're speaking to them in their natural language.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not,
That's clear.
do you see? Yeah.
That's clear. And quick question, the brokers, the same thing goes for the brokers, right?
Yes.
Got it.
Speaking.
If they're Spanish, okay.
Correct.
super.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you.
Well-
Just to be clear, as long as there is no third person. So if there's a third person that's communicating, I just don't want it to get missed in what I'm saying. So if there are two people, those two people are having a conversation, you don't need a certified person to speak to either one of those people you all are communicating. If there is an English speaker that is not able to speak to the third person, to another person, and they require a third person, it cannot be anyone. It has to be someone certified. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Any more questions? All right.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you all.
Linda
Oh, go
wanted
ahead.
me to chime in that we also have bilingual assisters and bilingual brokers too. So if you are working with a client and you specifically want a bilingual assister or broker, contact Danica, we'll put you in touch.
Thank you. All right. Now, if you do think of questions after this segment, please do not hesitate to reach us. Our contact information will be the next slide, and you can reach out to Lori and myself with any follow-up questions. You're welcome.